What's up, YouTube? Zazubar here. I'm coming at you with a recent movie review of two movies that I saw recently, of Thor and Pirates of the Caribbean on Stranger Tides. But before I move on with the review, I just wanted to say that I'm not scripting it, only because I am working on way too many scripts right now, and I'm sick of writing scripts. So basically, I've been working on recently, obviously, the Think for Another World reviews, which is coming soon. It's going to be a bigger review than I've done in the past, so get set for that. And it's going to be longer than some of my other ZMMR reviews, so it's taking a little longer to write. And anyway, so I'm also working on a Dead Space / Godzilla fan film, and you'll find out more about that at a later date. It's almost done. I'm in the editing process, and yes, it is a stop-motion film, so get ready for that, and I'll talk more about that at a later date. So, moving on with my review of Thor and Pirates of the Caribbean 4. Don't get confused on that. Anyway, so I'm going to go in chronological order of what movies I saw first. I saw Thor 2 weeks ago. So yeah, it's been a while. I meant to post this review a lot sooner, but I just didn't have the time, so I'm going to review it now. I remember it clearly, so it's not like I'm going to have a foggy memory. I mean, I remember like some line-by-line scenes. Anyway, so I talked about Thor already a while ago and basing it on the trailer, and I gotta say, I was dead wrong. I mean, and in a good way. I was actually pleasantly surprised, because I thought Thor was going to be very mediocre and just be like set up for the Avengers, which it was, but it was a lot better than I thought it would be. It was what I call a typical modern Marvel movie, which means it kind of, it did just kind of follow a formula that a lot of the other Marvel movies followed, like Iron Man and The Incredible Hulk and Iron Man 2. But I still really enjoyed it. Chris Hemsworth is like the Christopher Reeve of Thor movies now. Marvel has been spot on with their casting for these characters. Robert Downey Jr. was brilliant as Iron Man, and Chris Hemsworth is brilliant as Thor. He just became the character. There is no one else who's going to play him in the future. I just got news for you. Anyway, so on to the movie itself. I really enjoyed it. I mean, it wasn't like groundbreakingly brilliant, but it was really enjoyable. I didn't like it as much as Iron Man, but it was definitely like it's going to be hard to beat for Captain America. So, Captain America has some big shoes to fill. Now, I'm going to get into a little more detail. The plot was pretty good. I mean, I expected it. That was the problem. Nothing really surprised me. Well, except for Loki being an ice giant, but I'm not like a Thor comic fan, so, maybe that was in the comics, but I don't know. That was the one thing that really surprised me. Also, so I really enjoyed the story. Loki's plot was actually really well thought out, although I do think it got really convoluted in the end, and I found myself kind of scratching my head. So basically, what was he trying to do? He was trying to get Thor out of the way so he could get Odin out of the way so he could be king, and then the ice giants were somehow involved, and then he sent the destroyer down for it was confusing, but it didn't really take away from the movie for me, but it was kind of a head scratcher. What was done with Thor was really, really good. It basically just we didn't get his origin. We got his more or less kind of him becoming a superhero and not just a god. He became a literal superhero. What I also really liked was that the Asgardians weren't just gods this time. They were aliens. So I guess they were trying to avoid some kind of religious conflict, but I'm not too sure, but it worked. Anthony Hopkins also really stuck out for me as Odin. He was just brilliant. So, obviously Anthony Hopkins, he always turns in a grade A performance, but this was just better than I expected. I mean, he was obviously typecasted for this, but he exceeded my expectations. Like, there were some scenes that made me cringe on how amazing he was. Just some of the arguments he and Thor had just, like, made me really get into this family feud they were having. Loved the guy who played Loki. I can't wait to see him as the villain in the Avengers. And oh, be sure to stay after the credits, because there's a little something there for you Marvel fans. So the special effects are another thing that I found okay. I mean, they weren't perfect. Mainly, I thought Asgard was brilliantly done. Everything just looked absolutely beautiful. It had this really fantasy film feeling. The Earth scenes were the biggest problem for me, both with special effects and story and just dialogue. I'll get the special effects first, since that's what I was talking about. For some reason, the CG, when you get down to Earth, just gets a major downgrade. Like, just these shots of Asgard were just, like, perfect. And then you see the Destroyer down on Earth, and it just looks meh. It just looks like one of Iron Man's suits. And I think it should have looked different than that. I think it should have looked a little more articulate. It just kind of looked like a walking robot, which is what it's supposed to be, but I was looking for a little something more. The story, for some reason, it just got boring when we got down to Earth. Not that I'm saying I wish the whole thing took place on Asgard, because that would have been like just a prequel, and that wouldn't have been able to set up the Avengers, and therefore wouldn't have been interesting. But the story, for some reason, just got kind of dull when we got down to Earth. They were focused on... Now, I liked what was done with Thor. That wasn't the problem. I liked his character development when he was down to Earth. And the comedy, for the most part, was pretty good. I found, what was her name? Kat Dennings' character to be absolutely abysmal. She was so annoying. I knew what she was there for. She was there for simple comic relief, and every 6 seconds was some kind of pun or Facebook joke or something like that. And it just got really annoying after like the first 5 minutes of the movie where she makes her first appearance. I mean, it was just like every line was just... ugh. Natalie Portman, I actually thought was really good as Jane Foster. Again, I'm not a big Thor comic fan, but I knew who she was. I knew that she played her role pretty good to the comics. I actually think she was funnier than Kat Dennings in some parts. She was just kind of... She was really good in the role. She was pretty much spot on to the comics as far as I know. But there were some parts where I think she was kind of annoying. Her romance with Thor, I also thought was kind of sporadic and just kind of... It just happened in one scene. I mean, they have a really touching moment together, but that's it. And then the rest of it's just like, alright, they're not in love here. Then there's this scene where we show they have chemistry, and then they're in love. What the hell? I would have liked something maybe a little subtle, or maybe not something quite as obvious, like an Iron Man that was done between Pepper Potts and Tony. I mean, they don't even like show that they have feelings for each other until the end of the second movie, which I really liked. This was just obvious. I mean, the minute you saw the two on screen together, you're like, yep, they're going to be in a relationship. So that was my problem with that. Otherwise, I just loved Thor. So, in terms of references to Marvel continuity and the Avengers, excellent. They had a couple moments where it was done not so seriously, but the scene after the credits just fixed it all. Like, I love the part where they reference Bruce Banner. I'm not going to give that away, but you can find it yourself if you go see the movie. Thought the Iron Man reference was hilarious. I was laughing out loud. Yeah, that was one of the strong points of Thor. The comedy, for the most part, was spot on. I can't believe that the one character they picked precisely for comic relief was so annoying. And that was her problem. You know, I don't want to rant about Kat Dennings' character, but I felt like she didn't need to be the comic relief, because every character was making hilarious jokes, and they didn't need one specific character for comic relief. The movie is definitely darker toned than, just some other superhero movies out there now. So, I guess comic relief is necessary, but don't have a whole character wrapped around it when you have these really funny, subtler people. I mean, I love the scene where Thor and the scientist dude, I forgot his name, who, they get drunk in one scene. I thought that was hilarious. Overall, I mean, the comedy was spot on except for Kat Dennings, and I don't think that she needed to be there. Or at least not for exclusively, for comic relief. So, I'm going to give Thor a 4 out of 5, definitely. I really enjoyed it. I actually think Captain America is going to be better, but now it has bigger shoes to fill. Definitely exceeded my expectations, and I can't wait for the Avengers now after this, and probably more so for Captain America. Now on to Pirates of the Caribbean 4. Sorry Thor was so long, but I just had a lot to say, and so now on to Pirates of the Caribbean 4. I want to get out of the way right now that I am in no way a Pirates of the Caribbean fan. I have seen bits and pieces of each movie and I don't know much about it, but if I was able to go into this with some plot synopsis by a friend of mine and understand it completely and enjoy it, then I think that anyone who just loves movies can go see this movie. I found it really enjoyable. Not the best movie I've ever seen and not the worst. It definitely felt like an Indiana Jones ripoff to me, but that's on purpose, so I can't really criticize it for that. The action, I'm going to have to go with what a friend of mine said on this. My friend was like, well, the action was really choppy, and I definitely agree. There was this one sword fight in a bar between Jack Sparrow and the Penelope Cruz character. What was her name? Angelica? Yeah, Angelica. They were having a sword fight, and it was just all in darkness and just really sloppily edited. It's definitely proof of a franchise on its last legs, but just with the news of Pirates 5 and 6, I have some higher hopes for the action. And this was definitely kind of a bad way to introduce the franchise to me, because I heard it was amazing, and just like just like the whole, what's the word I'm looking for? Just like the whole idea of it was brilliant. And it definitely was. I mean, I love the atmosphere this movie has, and it made me want to see the other Pirates of the Caribbean movies, but I didn't like the action. I thought it could have been a little better edited, a little bit bigger. I didn't care for Penelope Cruz's character a little bit. Like, I thought that I was kind of confused on her motivations. Was she with Jack or was she with Blackbeard? Because in the end, it seemed like she was with Blackbeard, and then in another part, it seemed like she was with Jack. I don't know. I guess it was that she was kind of switching sides, but it was just confusing to me. And it's not like it was because I hadn't seen the other movies, because I asked my friend, and she was not in any of the others. So, again, really confusing and unnecessary. Just the romance in general was forced, and which is, of course, another problem I had with Thor. So, again, two of these summer movies I had the similar problem with, is that they were both, the romances were forced. I mean, it was just shoved down our throats. Just the example is that you have these moments where it's just like the jokes are trying to get into the romance, and there's no chemistry between them. It's just two actors reading off a script that's supposed to sound like they have feelings for each other, but it doesn't come off that way. Which is, actually, the problem was less severe in Thor, but it was really bad in Pirates of the Caribbean. Like, this was just one of the most forced on-screen romances ever. Otherwise, again, I'm not really familiar with it, so there's not a whole lot I can complain about, besides the normal movie stuff, like, again, the forced romance. I love Johnny Depp as Jack Sparrow, that's just a given, but, you know, I never saw enough of him to know that it's how awesome he is in it. He's just a kid having fun, and that really comes out here. And if he's having fun playing the character, then we're having fun watching him. That's the rule with movies, and I really got that here. I was happy to see a movie that focused on him, because from what my friend told me, the other movies focused on Orlando Bloom and Keira Knightley's characters, and he was just and Jack Sparrow was just kind of in the background. So I'm thankful to be introduced to this franchise with Jack Sparrow as the lead. I loved him. Thought he was hilarious. I thought he was charming. I thought he was clever. Just everything that makes for a really good character. So yeah, I definitely plan to see the other Pirates movies after seeing On Stranger Tides. One thing I quickly want to say is, just from what I know about Pirates of the Caribbean, which is very small again, the Fountain of Youth thing seemed really, really lame to me. I mean, from what the other movies had, like Sea Gods and Davy Jones and Lost Ships and Curses, this movie had the Fountain of Youth. And again, it's an inspiration by Indiana Jones, but still, I wish they added something more to the mythos. If you're gonna focus on Jack Sparrow, I think they should have done something a little more interesting than just an artifact thing. I mean, it just seemed very generic, and I saw every plot twist coming a mile away. Loved the mermaids. I thought they were really menacing, and that was one interesting aspect to it that brought it above like just a plain old Indiana Jones knockoff for me, and it felt like a Pirates movie. So again, I wish they added more to the mythos of Pirates of the Caribbean. I felt like it was just kind of the Fountain of Youth was just something there to get the ball the ball rolling to make another Pirates movie. And I know from what my friend told me, they hinted at the Fountain of Youth at the end of the third movie, so this was it had to happen. But still, I wish some more interesting things could have been done with it. Blackbeard, I loved him actually. I know a lot of people have complained that he's just a generic villain, and I have to disagree since, again, I haven't seen the other movies, but from what I saw, he was really menacing. He wasn't a cliched, "Arr, over the side, matey pirate." He seemed really menacing to me. He was a little more complex than other versions of Blackbeard I've seen in other movies. So I don't know what everyone's complaining about. I loved I don't know his name, sorry, but I loved the guy who played Blackbeard, and I loved the character. He wasn't a really complex villain, but he definitely wasn't generic either. I mean, just the way he talked and what he said and did really brought him to life for me and made him a villain. Otherwise, I'm not a Pirates of the Caribbean fan, so I can't complain that much. I just really enjoyed it. Great way to spend a Friday night with some friends. So I had a really good time seeing the movie. Definitely recommend it. Well, if you're a Pirates of the Caribbean fan, you've probably already seen it, so that's not the point here. But if you're not a Pirates of the Caribbean fan and you want to see a movie that's gonna entertain you, I do recommend this. I don't know what everyone's complaining about, that it's generic. I absolutely enjoyed it. So that's the two movies. Thor got a 4 out of 5, I think. So I'm gonna give Pirates of the Caribbean, I'm gonna give it a 3 out of 5. I have my problems with it as a movie, but I can't complain of it as part of a franchise because, again, I'm not a Pirates fan. So, thanks a lot for watching this double review. Sorry it was so long, but when you review two movies in a single go, that's what happens. So, Thor, 4 out of 5. Can't wait for Captain America next month, or 2 months from now, excuse me. And Pirates of the Caribbean on Stranger Tides, I'm going to give a 3 out of 5. Not a Pirates fan, but really enjoyed it as a movie. So, that's all I have to say. Look forward to the Think from Another World review coming this weekend. And, await my Dead Space / Godzilla fan film coming soon. And just a hint at the title, it's called Isaac vs. Gigan. So, look forward to that. Thanks a lot for watching. Zazubar out.